Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 1 of the Point Gremlins podcast. My name is James, also known as Jonas the Red, and here with me today I have Alex, or Delirium. We have a couple topics lined up for today for talking about. The point of this podcast that you guys can take a look at some of the inner ring of what's going on at iCombat Waukesha, the place you spend too much time at, you gremlins. First up on the docket today, we have the Purge/Zombies event. Do you want to go ahead and start us off with that one?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the session calendar for this week. So last week was the beginning of the Purge event. So that's just the actors running around the field and the field being all changed up for the Purge theming. And last week was the first and only week we're doing the Purge. This upcoming week is the Zombies week. So
That's right.
as you can see on the session calendar, we're already filling up for some of those sessions. That first zombie session is basically already full. There's only one spot left in it, and then the next one after that's about half full, and some periodic people throughout the week. I guess apart from a sales perspective, from a player standpoint perspective, I know me personally, I I very much dislike the Purge and Zombies events, but I know there are plenty of players that certainly very much enjoy them. Jimbo, I know you haven't had the pleasure of really playing one yet, but what's your take on it?
No, I've never played them, but I have seen a heck of a lot of them. I've been working in the icebox with them. This is the first year I've actually got the team lead them, which is cool to see. The real main differences between Purge and Zombies is that how the speed that these guys can move. But generally, I got thrown in for one mission. Well, a mission and a half. I got thrown in for a sniper because one of the players had to step off the field for a bit, and so I got to play just for one. And one of the Purge actors just chased me around for like a good 2 minutes of that sniper. I did. it was really funny. It was one of the most fun I actually got to have on one of these sessions because it was just so different than what the normal thing is. And that's what I think people will come in and see. If it's really lucky for them and the balance isn't like completely just exploded or broken, they can actually be like, whoa, I'm shooting these dudes in the head that, I don't know, they get the points. It's an interesting thought. What do you think about shooting these actors? I
I
know you
think
have some different opinions on them.
I do, but I think my biggest problem with those sessions is kind of what you said about the Delta. And the interesting thing about them is, as you can see by the calendar, is they're 1 hour sessions. So there is literally no downtime in between sessions. It's get off the field, get back on the field. And there's no gear up, no gear down time. It's all just playing. And because of it being like that, all of the sessions we run for Purge at least, we run the same game mode. Zombies, we switch between an A and a B game mode cycle.
So I'm excited to see. This last week we played specifically just like the exact same string of game modes every single time. It was good practice for everyone, so we can kind of see how fast we have to go. We did team deathmatch right into conversion of Black Hawk Down, right in a supply grab, which was, oh my gosh, god dang it. And then we did UBL right afterwards, or excuse me, Save the Senator, which both teams are going after for it, followed by Sniper, and then whatever filler game modes we can fit in, and then End of Days. Anyways,
And me personally, I like the novelty of the Purge and Zombies. My favorite part about it is the way the field is laid out. I actually love the field layout, especially the way we have it this year with all the lights. The lights on the car still look awesome, and all the Halloween theme. My big issue with it though is how dark it gets on the field.
oh my god, I'm getting more and more of a gripe with just how dark the field is, period, even during our normal sessions. I'm biased, obviously, because I do a lot of recording on the field. You always see me out with my camera. The second the fun button gets turned on, and I'm in any building, I just can't see anything. It's just the worst. And these sessions are just infinitely darker. It makes my camera useless. I'll throw some footage up on the screen if you're watching this on my channel. It's just almost useless all the time.
Absolutely. And to be added with that, like going into lower market, it's dark down there, and you absolutely know that there's going to be a purger or a zombie in there, and you're basically you got no chance against them. You can't see them coming. It's all tight corridor, so stepping in there is just kind of a death trap. It limits so much of the field.
Mhm.
So when I was playing, I played 2 purge sessions last week, and both times when I was playing those sessions, I would walk down the ghetto alley. I'd die to a purger from around the corner. I'd be like, all right, I'll go somewhere else. I'll go into lower market. Die from a purger around the corner. I'd be like, well, I guess upstairs it is, because this is the only place without purgers.
The Purger's whole mission, from their perspective, isn't to kill you; it's to scare people. Um, Sometimes they are restricted to places like the street or like out in the open like that, but most of the time, their bias is going to be around tight corners like that and trying to scare people. So they're going to be in those in lower market, in ghetto, in mansion, and ready for like that new person or that person just isn't expecting it to hop around the corner and go ah! And just try and scare the heck out of them.
Yeah.
That's what they were telling me about a lot. They love the scared people, and sometimes when they try and scare the regulars, they don't react, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna not react."
Yeah, that's definitely my point of view on it. Whenever I see a purger coming my way, I drop my gun. I just turn around and start walking back to spawn before they even kill me. I was like, I guess you got me. Good job.
Because they have this headband that just absolutely just deletes anyone that's in front of it. Sometimes they have to like rub their forehead against you effectively in order to get you to die. And it's like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. It kind of ruins the allure there,
Yeah,
but
especially
it's
Uncle
so
Sam.
quick. Say it again.
Especially Uncle Sam.
Oh yeah.
His big tall hat. You can't shoot him past that.
Difference between purgers and zombies. I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but I think the zombies will overall walk slower, but they will scale in speed, unless it was happening already this last week and I didn't notice it.
That is how they are set up to do it. So the big difference between the purgers and the zombies is the purgers are normally there's periodically one purger allowed upstairs. That won't happen at all with zombies. The zombies are downstairs only. They will never step foot on any of the staircases, or at least they're not supposed to. And starting from the first TDM, they're supposed to be really slow, and then as games progress, they're going to get faster and faster until end of days when they're just going to be dead sprinting everywhere.
Faster and stronger, so that'll be some bonus to you guys as well. As the sessions move on, they'll start at 10 seconds respawn time to 8 seconds to 6 seconds, I believe is the maths. And if they're on a 6-second respawn time, I guess it just means more points for you guys if you want to farm
Yeah,
a corpse over and over again. But he's also going to be faster. He's going to be allowed to move faster and sprint at you.
yeah, absolutely. You get extra shots on them, and they're all headshots too. So those
I
are
get
some extra
yeah.
points there.
You will get those little extra points for hitting him in the head over and over again. Do you know what those game modes are for zombies, or do they miss you?
Oh, I read the sheet at one point. I know for certain there's the A and B session layout, so it's gonna be better than it was with Purge. So you're not playing literally the same session over and over again. You'll get some variety out there. Um, I know Supply Grab is still one of those games. Obviously, still starting with TDM. Sniper's still in there, but I think Safecracker's in there, which is actually an interesting one.
Oh boy, really?
I
I worry about with this A and B list is that those of you that take breaks for every single session, if we're doing the pattern of A, B, A, B, A, B, you'll effectively end up playing the same session again over and over again. So if you're going to play any at all, you play one and the one afterwards, depending on the pattern we're following. I don't know what that pattern's going to be. It's probably going to be depending on the people that are there.
I'm pretty sure we just go A B A B A B.
I think that's in the best interest, especially if people want to get every single game mode out of it. If we're playing Safecracker and Zombies, oh boy. Every single chance I get, I want to play more Safecracker. I never get to play it.
I am seeing some of the other game modes being put into chat. I know Recon's one of them. Hell's Bells is the other one. That one's kind of interesting too, because the way Hell's Bells works with the zombies is the zombies are all supposed to be kind of outside of market as it starts, but as they hear the bell ringing, they're supposed to get closer and closer to the bell. So when the
Hmm.
bell is ringing, ringing, ringing a lot, the zombies are basically directly under it, and when it's not ringing much at all, they kind of spread out again. So they kind of are drawn to the ringing of the bell.
This sounds like it'd be more effective on any other field. If you don't know, if you've ever played Hail's Bells on our field, that bell is just perpetually ringing because you can smack that thing from anywhere on the field. Not anywhere, but a lot of places. So I foresee the zombies are just going to be forever huddled underneath the bell, dying over and over again, kind of clawing at the bell above them, trying to get it. I don't know what their actings are.
That is mostly how it works out. Yeah.
They're just going to be stuck under there. How many zombies are on the field? Is it going to be 6, 7 again?
I believe we have 6 for both days. I could be wrong on that though.
That's going to be good. Yeah, I'm excited to see those. If you take me up on it, I'd love to try and have you cover for me just so I could play one instead of
Yep.
just one mission. I think you're working the whole day on Saturday though as well. So only we can get to slide that one. Well, maybe the front. Well, we'll see what happens. Next up, I know everyone's thinking about it. Everyone's at the forefront of their mind. Everyone is much more interested in this one than the Purge and Zombies. Is the tournament coming up?
Yes. So the tournament coming up is tournament's on November 13th, and I'm pulling up the team list right now, which I forgot to do earlier. But so there's 11 teams, 55 players in all, which
It's very
is
convenient.
a significant increase in players from last year. Last year
Oh
we
yeah.
had a list of 30 players. So obviously, uh,
Absolutely just incredible amounts of change we've seen. Right now, I think is the most amount of regulars I've ever seen iCombat have, period. It's incredible to see. And there isn't like a regular that I hate either. It's really cool, and they're all really interesting. I'm not even saying this because I have to. I'm saying that because that's what I actually believe. It's really interesting to see all these individual people come in and their individual characters come in and play. And having 55 of you weirdos in this tournament is just wild to me. Like you said, 11 captains. And if you guys have seen the draft video or you're there live or even in person, you'll know exactly how it went down. He'll pull up the teams here in a second. It's just absolutely incredible. What we did see is generally that some of the better players were just straight up elected to be captains this year. So 11 just like incredible players got to be all the captains. I'm trying to like play to your ego here. You're right next to me. Believe it or not, Alex is one of the captains.
true.
Um, 11 captains, and they're all just these like crazy players. And then everyone else is just like, well, generally mid range. I don't want to give them all skill levels based off of, but you guys have seen the lists. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here.
It's
Oh, here we go.
a little scuffed the way I had to bring it up, but the 11 teams we have, starting with the player that got the first pick was Unicorn Rage. Going down the list, it was Unicorn Rage's team consists of IG72, J Vito, the Bald Guy, and I'm Oxygen. So it was a snake draft. Kyle or Unicorn Rage got the first round pick, who he decided to take IG72, and then he took J Vito and the Bald Guy at once, and then his booger pick, if you will, was I'm Oxygen, the player from North Carolina. It was that nobody really knows about, so it's kind of a tough pick.
That guy could be incredible. He could be just very slow and just loves laser tag just because he plays laser tag. I never saw. So my first day working again was the tournament last year. I have no idea what IG72 looks like, but apparently everyone's been talking this guy up. He's crazy. He's super tall. He's crazy good at laser tag. What do you think?
So I also, unfortunately, was not really at the tournament last year. I was a captain last year, but I ended up being unable to make it due to COVID things. But I did end up being able to see a little bit of the tournament. And what I saw of IG72 was that the man is 7 feet tall, and that he is also just has phenomenal fundamentals with the SMG. Man handles it really well, was super impressive to see, and I believe he was a 3rd round pick last year, and just absolutely was I personally believe was 100% the reason his team ended up winning. He was also on the winning team, which is definitely a good point to make.
Last year's winning team was Doki, Sniper 17, IG72, who and who?
Cheese Curds and Brad the Eradicator.
Ah, yes. And I wish I could have paid more attention to it. Luckily, this year I will be able to pay attention to it, but I'll get into that later. Our next team we have. Actually, we can talk about more individual players here. Um, Actually, you know what? Let's save that for the end. Let's go down to the teams. Next up is Doki. Doki, 6 and 7's junior, Pew Pew Sean's, IG-11, and Brad the Eradicator himself. So, two players on that team have won a tournament before, Brad the Eradicator and Doki.
Yes.
6 and 7's junior performed really well in the previous tournament as well. IG-11's been talked about as well because he obviously has the IG in front of his name. And then Pew Pew Sean's. I know nothing of Pew Pew Sean's. Please fill me in on Pew Pew Sean's.
Pew Pew Sean's and I actually very recently, so I believe it was around July or June, I took the number 15 spot in the world for the overall all locations leaderboard. And Pew Pew Sean's was actually the player I ended up passing. After he did that, he was away from the action for quite a while. He's I believe a Chicago player. I could be no,
That sounds right.
no, yeah, Pew Pew. Yeah, he's a Chicago player. Shows what I know, I guess. But a Chicago player who was kind of out of the action uh, during most of the summer due to COVID scares and stuff like that. Uh, but he ended up coming back to Waukesha right after I passed him, and me and him were going back and forth pretty often. And he was definitely an impressive player to see on the field. He is certainly his home field is certainly not Waukesha, so that's kind of evident by his play style. But
What I've seen
definitely,
of these, what I've seen of these Chicago players though is that when they come in, they're still really awesome. I think their field plays very similar to ours, and so they have a very good muscle memory translation there. I've yet to see a bad Chicago player. Given I've yet to see a bad Madison player too. Not to like shit on you guys, but like when these Chicago players come in, it's just really interesting to see. I mean, I've seen a lot of Madison. It just my first time really seeing a lot of Chicago. Next up, Brad the Eradicator in that group as well. He's been playing with the shotgun a lot recently. People would think of when they think of Brad, they think of the shotgun player. I don't know how much of the SMG he's used. Clearly, looking at his account, it's a lot of SMG, so he knows how it works. He has the muscle memory there. But again, they think of shotgun. I have some footage of him using the shotgun as well. He's generally good at it, but I don't think he's used an SMG in months, and he hasn't come into practice with it again before the tournament. When's the tournament date?
it is November 13th will be the day of the tournament.
The 13th. That's a Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to come in and watch it yourselves, also it'll be live streamed on this Twitch channel as well, with me casting as well as Prowler. We're gonna be streaming that together. The stream itself isn't going to be the most interesting thing to watch. It's more of a radio thing like you're listening to right now. You'll be able to see the score. I know that. You'll be able to follow along if you spend a lot of time there and understand what's going on from that aspect. Next up is your team. You want to talk us over that one?
Yeah, so obviously me as captain. My first pick was Quicks. On the Snake, I had the third pick of the draft. On the Snake, I ended up getting Glue Eater, followed by Be Ready, and then my final pick was Rogue Racer.
Road
Uh,
Racer.
Going down the list I made, so as I was making my picks, I had in front of me a list that I spent a couple hours on that essentially ranked all of the available players 1 through 44 because that's how many were available after the 15 cap or 11 captains are gone. And on that list, Quicks was my number one pick. So with my third round pick, I ended up getting, or yeah, with the third round pick, my first pick was Quicks.
Good.
So I got in the reference of my list, I got a good pick there for myself. I picked him for a number of reasons. I think he's definitely a phenomenal player. I think he has a lot of value to the field since he can play every location very well.
I agree with that.
And I do genuinely like playing with the guy. Followed by Glue Eater and Be Ready, who were actually my number 10 and 11 respectively picks on my list. So with my second and third round pick, I was able to get a player that I had in the top 10, as well as a player I had just below the top 10. So that's it.
Oh, I see. So that's value there, you're saying.
Yes, high value there according to my list. Louis is a player that I like to play with. I certainly has shown himself to be a good player coming from CMP, so he has a lot of good gun fundamentals. And Be Ready being a player that no one really knows much about coming from Missouri, but having just from what you can look at Barracks, just phenomenal stats with like a 2.5 KDR, 78 skill rating, very high score per minute, and a 4-star general. So he's definitely
I,
got the time under his belt.
I've told you this before about him. St. Louis, correct?
Uh, I don't think so.
Don't think so. Okay. I worry about him.
Oops.
I generally, when people have their first time on the field, at this field never had before, they just have the wildest time. They don't translate well because our field is radically different than most places. Maybe their field is similar, and obviously your first time on any map is going to be a difficult transition. But going back to Glue Eater real quick, like you said, he's used to work at CMP, Laser Tag Place in Milwaukee here. And every single time I play with him as well, it's just very enjoyable. He's a very humble guy, and that's really good value to have on your field. I'd like to get him on the show eventually to talk about his comparison contrasts with CMP, which would be really cool to see.
Yes, absolutely. And I did just figured out. Be Ready is from O'Fallon, not St. Louis, but O'Fallon.
Oh, excuse. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, he's one of
Next,
the, I think, 3 4-star generals they have there. And then finally is Rogue Racer, a player I don't know a whole lot about. I know he's just kind of a taller, athletic player. He's still a pretty new player, so he's around like his 30 levels. But from what I've seen of him, his stats have been really pretty okay, especially for a last round pick. Not terribly. I don't know him terribly well, but then again, I had
I
the
think for a last pick, the Rogue Racer is an incredible pick to have.
yeah, that's kind of
There
where I
are
stand as well.
some much like I hate to like, I'm gonna leave that topic alone. Incredible pick for you to have as your last pick. Next team is Live for the Moment. Live for the Moment, Mac 20, No Nut, No Nutrition, Weidman, and Lyrical Woe. There was a ongoing joke that Fern kept picking the Madison players. So himself, Mac 20, and No Nut all come from the Wisconsin Madison field as well. So they all know each other really well. They have that synergy together. And they're all actually very good players, which I'm really glad. I'm really glad they all got to be on the same team and have such a team like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a very formidable team. I think the combo of Fern and Mac is going to be definitely really strong. Those are two very, very good players, both of which were, if Mac was in the running for captain, I think the odds of him getting captain was about 100%. So that's a very, very strong first pick for your team. And then followed by No Nut, who's definitely got some good skill on the field, plays generally around the upper level and mansion area. And Gweidman's actually a very interesting pick. I like the pick of Gweidman for sure. He's another interesting one. Tends to roam around the street, but is a surprisingly fast player.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. This guy is definitely doing a lot of moving around. He has a interesting reload as well. I only bring this up because I had to create a whole new category for his reload to fit in. He does this thing where he pushing the butt of the magazine back up into the weapon. It'll drop down and he catches the side of it as it's dropping and pulls it back up. Just interesting topic about him. Generally awesome guy, very humble. I love that man's incredibly. Anyways, continue.
And the last player on their team was Lyrical Woe, who's one of our newest regulars. He hasn't been in a little while, but he, come a month ago, he would have been in just about every one of our sessions. He was playing a lot. He's gone from rank 1 to rank 30-ish in the last month. So it kind of shows his tenacity for playing.
Comes out of nowhere, and then I'm playing against him, and I haven't been playing a whole lot. Period. I'm an employee first, player second. I like to think that I have some ability out there, and he's slapping me around more than I thought he would. He's like level what? Like you said, like level 38 or something, 34.
I think he's his mid 30s.
It's really cool to see. And as you guys know, there's 100 ranks in a combat. It's exponential growth to get through all these levels. Once you're in the Eagles, that's when I say you're like that's when you're like a real player. But around 30s and well, around 25 to 37, I'd say, is right around when people start to notice you and like, oh, I recognize you, Lyrical. Well, you're that guy that's here all the time, and you had XYZ do XYZ and whatever. That's when I see. That's when I notice people start to become like a regular in the eyes of everybody else. We'll see him before, but everyone else, that's what really matters. That's when you really start to see it. You want to introduce the next team?
Yep, absolutely. So the next team is with team captain Jailer. Going down the list, it's Jailer, DeSeal, Powers 772, the German, and Aquila. So
Jailer. Sorry, go ahead.
So with his first pick, Jailer accidentally picks DeSeal, who is we've been joking about it, but he actually meant to pick Aravan, but DeSeal unfortunately is somewhat injured right now with a ankle injury, I believe, but he says he will be totally ready to go for the tournament. So he's got a couple more weeks of healing left to do, but he ended up with DeSeal, who is definitely a very strong player. Powers from Chicago, along with Aquila from Chicago. So those two are kind of a bit of a duo, if you will. And then the German as well, who's another one of our more recent, I guess I'd call them summer regulars, who just kind of popped up over the summer.
That sounds right. I like the term summer regular. Aquila mentioned that he was on Powers' team last year as well, and they spent a lot of time together. Powers always comes in with the camera, and he'll record pretty much every single session he's in and streaming live on Twitch. Power772, it's literally his username as well, if you guys want to look that up as well. And Aquila comes with him a lot, and so they are well together. Funny news about DeSeal. So he plays football, right? I believe he's a high school student. He plays football, and he broke, I believe it was his left ankle. Doesn't matter, one ankle. He really messed it up. He had the boot on for a while, and then he healed it up. And then right, like I think like the same or like the next time he goes out to play, he messes up the other one, and he's got apparently a worse injury on the other foot. Again, I've talked to him about it. If anyone's going to know his body, it's going to be him. He says he's going to have that boot off and ready to go by the time of the tournament, easy peasy. We don't see a whole lot of the guy very often, but I'm glad he's okay, I guess. The German, though, I don't know too much about him. What do you have thoughts on the German?
I really like the pick of the German there. I think getting the German as your third round pick is definitely very strong. He's a pretty good all around player. He can play the majority of the field very well. He's pretty new to the field, so he kind of lacks a lot of those really quick fundamentals, but where he plays on the field, he tends to work very well with in a team. So he's a very, very good team player.
I did see that. I saw. So recently, if you come in at the same time as the rest of your team, we're going to try our best to put you on the same team as your team members or as you per request. If you want to be against your team members as well, that's also valuable, whatever you want to do. I saw Jailer and the German, excuse me, working together on the field, and they're doing a lot of coordinating, a lot of yelling, a lot of calling out. And it was really, really cool to see. Really cool to see him be a team player in that sense.
Yeah. And then moving on, I believe we can go down to Damien or Frog Champ's team now.
Absolutely.
And going down the list, it's Frog Champ as the captain. Pick one: Owl, Big Sweaty, Waken, and Navy SEAL 22, or how he just changed his username to Arthas Menethil.
Any World of Warcraft nerds out there knows exactly who he's talking about here. The dude loves World of Warcraft. He chose to change his name to it. The joke is with this team is that they're all under 21 years old.
Yep.
They're all really short players. They're all effectively kids. The oldest, I believe, is Big Sweaty, and he when talking to Frog Champ, he said he didn't do it on purpose. He just chose solid players all around for the picks. Starting off with the Owl, he performed super well last year.
Oh, he was on my team and definitely surpassed my expectations. Was just a phenomenal player to watch last year. Fortunately, I didn't get to play with him, but what I did see of him playing on the live stream and when I was there for a brief while was him doing very, very well.
What was he doing exactly that impressed you?
He was with their captain gone, my team was kind of out of order, I guess. They didn't go into it with any game plans. They were just kind of playing how they would in a public session. But the Owl actually was kind of the player that more or less stepped up and really just gave it to the other team. He was making the big plays. He was doing what the team needed when they needed it. He was running all over the field. He was just kind of everywhere at once. It was really impressive to see.
He's the first quote unquote scout we've talked about so far. There are 4 scouts. It's like a clan or a group that comes from Chicago. I'm not sure what I'd call them. Their usernames are the Owl, Levi Ackerman, Commander Irwin, and Flock or Floch Forrester. One of the two. I've yet to know how he pronounces that first word. You won't see as much as Floch, but those 3, they all play super well, and they're all very valuable picks. As you can see, they're all picked very early on in this tournament. The Owl was picked first. Moving on to Big Sweaty. Big Sweaty is actually an employee. He's a left-handed player, which is useful to see. You can actually get a lot of surprising angles being left-handed. I generally think he's a better player than I am, but I'm not sure exactly how he plays. Go ahead.
I'd say more or less he gives himself a lot of credit for being kind of an observer as an employee. So he knows the regulars very well, but not a lot of the regulars know him, and that's kind of what he is branded as his biggest strong suit. Was that none of the regulars know how to deal with him, and I think for the most part he's right about that. Any of the regulars that do know how he plays, I think can kind of put him away a little bit, but the vast majority of the players on this list have not played with him, but he's been able to watch and see how all of them play.
Yeah, he isn't team lead a whole lot. He spends a lot, well, not a lot, the very, very, very vast majority of his time in the icebox, meaning announcing or lights or sounds or whatever. So he can see all of the stats exactly. He can look over the railing, even see some of the players from up there. He knows how the regulars play from a very different perspective. And it's incredible to see. Waken's up next. Waken's everyone's first bet is that she plays in the truck. Breach side, she'll run right out of spawn, hop onto the truck, and hop onto the back of the truck and just start exploding people down the street. Predictable, yes. Accurate, also yes.
I think the interesting point about Waken is obviously she's got very, very quick reaction times to be able to play in the back of the truck. You definitely need that. But the vast majority of the kills she gets are off of new players, which there is definitely something to be said for that, but that doesn't necessarily translate very well into a 5-on-5 of all regulars.
Is absolutely true. I think there are a couple stages of player skill that a lot of these people haven't gotten to yet. Now, Waken, I don't mean to absolute shit on you, but you're just a good example for this topic in general. A couple stages people to go through in order to become a regular is first they'll come in, they'll start to learn to feel, and they start to learn clever angles and stuff. Second off, they'll start to be like, oh, I can really start to get a lot of points. I can start to carry out my stats. I'm starting to get pretty good at this. I'm going to try and go just for stats first one to go for is KDR, kill death ratio generally, or try and get them a lot of points and try and get that MVP at the end of every single set mission. And so they'll go for that, and that ends up doing is they'll stand in those high traffic spots and just explode people, anyone coming out of there. Where I start to see a player starting to get really good is when they start to really think about, okay, who's on the enemy team? Okay, Aravan's the enemy team. He's going to be in A, B, C places. Where is he going to be right off the top? Okay, 1-4 is going to be right up top right away. I got to be able to be ready for him and ready to see him. And if they're right, that's when I start to see, okay, they're starting to get that idea of how, like, they're starting to get the idea of how to better best the enemy team exactly.
I 100% agree with that. I think a big part of being I guess you could call it top tier regular, or developing, I guess, counter regular strategies, is recognizing who's on the other team and where they're going to be, and playing according to it.
And there are so many regulars right now. It's even more impressive that you can learn what each individual one does, where generally we're going to be, where generally is their skill level in comparison to yours, and what you can do to stop them.
Absolutely. And then moving on to the final player of this team is Navy SEAL, or Arthas Menethil. And the joke with him is that he will never hit an objective, which obviously in a tournament is a really big deal. However, I'm sure plenty of people have already noticed it. I certainly have. Is that the last few weeks he has certainly been really trying to rebrand himself as an objective player, going for the objectives as much as he can. And he's definitely been doing some good work at it, but it's definitely interesting to watch a player who's been crawling through their eagles right now, and now for the first time is learning how to play domination.
It's so funny. He'll start the game and he'll go upstairs, and then it'll be domination, right? So generally you're meant to lean over the top and shoot the tube that's in the center of the marketplace. And there's a quote from him eventually saying that, like, good players don't go for objectives. I'm not going to go for it. And he'll just continue to kill the players in the team trying to get out of the spawn, because in his head, I imagine it's the points that what matters. In his head, that he knows getting a higher kill streak is more points than shooting the tube once. Right? Well, you know what? If you win, you double all those points as well. I think that's the critical miss part there. But for the last 7 days, he's number 3. So we're seeing a lot of him playing. 879 kills this week with a KDR of 2.0 flat. So is a surprising player. Generally, I think a great spot for a last pick for his team. I am honestly terrified of Frog Champ's team, given I'm not playing. I just think everyone else is thinking the same thing.
He certainly has one of the stronger looking teams. I think a lot of that is due to the player that Damien is himself. I think he's pretty widely respected as a player, and a lot of people view him as one of, if not the top Waukesha regular. And I don't think they're mistaken at all for having that opinion.
Yeah, I think there are 3 or 4 like top Waukesha regulars, and I think I'm gonna leave that topic alone. Not because you're in the contender for it, but I think it'd be a great topic for next week. I'm thinking about it right now.
That would be. We can go ahead and write that down.
Next team: Chief, Levi Ackerman, Gamoto, Hans Jager von Poppel, or Poop. It's Hans. He changes his name every week. And then Airgain.
So this is kind of your team, Jimbo, since you're the chief sponsor. So why don't you give me your initial thoughts on this year team?
Sure. So starting off, Chief didn't have enough time to sign up for the tournament. So I just signed him up for him. I know he wanted to play in it. He was talking to me about it. He was very excited for the tournament. So I just signed him up for it. And the joke is now that I sponsored that team because he ended up being a captain and he picked all of it. And we've been going back and forth in that joke. Absolutely, it's not. I have no stake in this team whatsoever. The joke is that I have some tips in it. I don't. He chose Levi Ackerman, Gamoto, Hans, Ergain. I think his team is incredible. Levi Ackerman, I saw this dude perform crazy stuff on Sunday, do absolutely ludicrous things I've never seen him do before. I was like, wow, this guy's just pulling it out of nowhere. Gamoto, super fast, very aggressive, very up and coming regular. This guy comes out of the word works once again, given he's been playing a lot of recently, right? But I think people are really starting to see his skill right about now. It's like, what? Gamoto is Tom O'Clock? It's freaking Tom O'Clock. He's that good? Hans, super big motivator. I've heard only stories of his incredible motivation skills from the previous tournament. There's this story that they were losing a game of Hell's Bells. They lost one game of Hell's Bells, and then the next mission, he did this incredible, like, rousing speech that gave them all really hyped up, and they just, like, smashed the next Hell's Bells game and just completely creamed him with it. And then Ergain, I thought would go much later. I was thinking he was going to go second or third pick, but he ended up going last. And I think that's an incredible value pick for him. Ergain is Jailer's brother. They play rather similarly. Generally, I think they're around the same skill level. I'm just surprised he ended up going last. I'm not sure how. That's why I'm so impressed with this team so far. What are your thoughts?
I agree 100% about Ergain. Last
nothing
pick.
else.
No, I'll get to everything else, but Ergain for a last pick is incredible. That is a player that definitely should not have gone that late. And with your last pick, picking up someone like him is going to be huge for the team. It makes it so you really just don't have a bad player on that team at all. Kind of working my way up the list, then moving on to Hans. Like you said, he's the big motivator. He's the haha funny Hans German voice man. I can't really speak too much to his play style since he's from North Carolina and I just haven't seen it. Moving to Tom or Gamoto, he's been playing a lot. The kid's been playing a ton. He's been putting up really big numbers. The one big thing I would say about him is he plays like a copycat. He is honestly kind of a newer regular. He's still in his low eagles. And what I mean by copycat is you'll see him a lot of times upstairs. You'll see him a lot of times in patio or garden or in the broken room area. He's in these spots where you can watch all the regulars go and put up these big numbers. And he says, oh, I'm going to do that, and follows those spots. So he doesn't really have a big play style of his own.
That's when I want to start seeing players get good, when they really start to think about, what am I good at? Where can I be crazy? I've been team leading a lot recently, and I know Gamoto's left-handed. To counter your argument a little bit, I've seen this guy pull off some really weird left-handed angles. And generally in a combat setting, be it sword fighting or be it gunplay or something like that, if you're left-handed, it gives you just like a +2 to whatever that means. A good advantage over the enemy players on a even playing through. He is left-handed. If he's using his left-handed angles and he does it better than the other left-handed players are doing, I think that's a huge bonus to his team.
Absolutely. And being a left-handed just kind of already gives you points and fundamentals. And Tom certainly has very good fundamentals. I think that's definitely the biggest attraction to him. He's really got quick reaction time. He's got some good movement. And he doesn't just sit in one spot pretty often. He will move around, which is just a huge, huge deal that not a lot of regulars actually take advantage of or can do properly.
Imagine moving. I'm going to sit right here.
And then the final player that I haven't talked about on this team yet is Levi Ackerman, the second scout we're talking about so far. And like you said, this weekend he was phenomenal. What I saw of Levi was some of the best from the last 2 weeks, really, was some of the best I've seen him play ever. And that's super intimidating leading up into the tournament.
Wow. Like generally it was like, again, I keep accidentally like shitting on him. It was like, generally you think of Levi as always one of the scouts. He's pretty good. He's not like absolutely crazy works. Well, I definitely saw some absolutely crazy works coming out of him. I just can't play that point up enough. Another left-handed player as well. That team has 2 left-handed players on it. I wonder what it's going to do for his team. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to our next team is Skulltaker's team. So the team consists of Skulltaker, Aravan, Pew Pew Brats, Assured Legend, and Keith J. I think the big theme of this team, if you will, is they are not the fastest players you'll see on the field. A lot of these players tend to kind of keep back, work things like street or mansion or lower marketplaces that you don't normally see a lot of players running around. Uh, and I think there is really big and really big advantages and really big disadvantages to that sort of play style.
You get any one of these guys in one of those spots, it's very hard to get them out. I wish I could come with a better term, but I'm going to use an immovable object. Knowing Skulltaker, knowing Aravan, knowing Brats, knowing Assured Legend and Keith, once they're in a spot, it is so hard to get them out of it. Just, I don't know how they do it. It's not how I play at all. They're very hard to remove them from any different spot. They're going to be dug in hard. Uh, Kudos to Aravan, especially when that dude gets picked as Juggernaut or picks himself as Juggernaut. He wins a lot. It's really cool. It's very
Absolutely.
hard to win Juggernaut.
It's got a very high win ratio on it. The other thing about this team that I'm just kind of now noticing is the areas that these players dominate is very diverse. So Skulltaker, you'll see a lot of the times in the ghetto around the tower area. Aravan, very much in the street in the mansion area. Brats tends to be upstairs. Assured Legend and Keith J both tend to be lower market players. That's the whole field covered right there.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that either. That's a great point. They've got the field covered really well, and once they get dug in, there you're gonna have a really hard time getting them out. Really cool. Um, Anything you want to talk about anyone else, or you want to move on to the next team?
I do think there is an interesting player that's kind of the odd man out of this group that I want to address real quick, and that's Assured Legend.
There is. It do be Assured Legend. Assured Legend has not only played, but the vast majority of his sessions are in private sessions. He will try very hard to bring in all of his friends and come in specifically on Sunday after iCombat closes and set up a private event beforehand. He'll get like a 5-on-5 or a 6-on-6, sometimes a 7-on-7, and he'll create this his own ecosystem of regulars in his own group. He is de facto the best one in his group of players. Uh, but he ended up being in the tournament, and sometimes he's playing more recently in the public session, and he's seeing it. He's seeing the bigger waters out there.
Yeah, and I remember the very first public session he did play in, he did actually surprise me. So I remember watching him. I was ice for the session. I remember watching him MVP a few rounds, put up some pretty big numbers, and I believe he took third overall in the session, beating out quite a few other regulars. So that was definitely very promising to see. So he might be another one of those players that nobody really knows a whole lot about that could just surprise us.
That's very good to see. I was worried about him, and now I'm less worried about him. That's awesome.
All right. Moving on then to Woodland's team. Woodland's team consists of himself, Shaded or Egg Thrower, Hunter J, who just changed his name to Mini Keith J, Dummy, and Birdie.
He missed the opportunity of having the power couple. If you didn't know this, Bratz and Birdie are a married couple, but they're on separate teams, just barely one pick away from being on the same team, which would be really cool.
Absolutely. I remember Skulltaker blurting out that he wanted the power couple on his team after Woodland picked Birdie. But moving down the list for this team, starting with Shaded or Egg Thrower, who is my brother, so Brady Gilmore, has not played a serious session in close to a year.
Oh no! He decides to sign up for the tournament, and now I live in fear.
He is actually in 2 sessions tomorrow, so he's in the 6 and 7:30 tomorrow. So that'll be his big return to public sessions. But I think probably about a year ago today, or a year and a month ago, Brady was probably one of the top contenders for the best player in Waukesha. And
I
I,
I agree based off of just stories I've heard about the guy. I've never seen this guy seriously play a session. There was one session I played with him as a joke. We were just playing like TTT, and it wasn't like he was just we are just playing like joking around laser tag. I wasn't like actually seeing what he does. I have no idea how he plays.
yeah, he is very well known for his obnoxious and weird head movement. So if you've ever played the game Rainbow Six Siege, where the players kind of do this weird lean and just like flip their head back and forth, he does the same thing with his gun. So he will flip his head from side to side and rock back and forth, almost like a CMP player. And it's just so bizarre to see. The other interesting thing about him is he plays uh, in a style that is so very personalized. It's just him. I've never met another player that plays like him. He plays the China Wall portion of Market and Ghetto, and he basically just kind of makes circles around that area.
Ooh, that's weird. That's wild.
So
I've never seen anyone do that.
he dominates a very strange portion of the field, which is hopefully going to be a big advantage for this team. The next, I'm sorry.
A bigger, well, not a bigger advantage, but another advantage is that since he hasn't played in a year, and all these newer regulars are coming around the roadworks around this new year, either they're gonna forget how he plays or never seen him play before, like myself. They're gonna be like, this guy, he got picked first for a reason, right? He was very close to being like the de facto best player in Waukesha, and then he gets picked first, and not all the people know how he plays. Yikes! Imagine, like, so if you're on this team or you want to see this guy play, you said tomorrow is coming in on Thursday.
He is coming in for the 6 and 7:30 tomorrow.
That is your chance to see the egg thrower in action.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his team now, and I just realized I don't know that he has played with any of them.
I don't think he knows who any of these people are.
Besides Woodland, I know for certain he's never met Hunter J or Dummy, and I'm pretty sure he at least doesn't remember or has probably only played with Birdie maybe once.
Hunter J. This guy came out of nowhere, and I've been talking him up recently to everyone. He came out of the woodwork, and this guy plays wild. We'll go back and forth and playing with each other. Generally, he's just better than me overall, but I end up playing in a lot of the sessions he in, and I'm conveniently always on the other team as him. Once I want to play with him, we end up balancing each other out that way, but he always ends up winning anyways. He's absolutely wild. He moves super fast. He's absolutely just crazy for the amount of time he has on the field. I think completely very valuable secondary pick for his team. Good job to Woodland there.
I think he's gonna be one of those surprising players coming through the tournament. 'Cause I think his name is not very well known and could definitely be seen as like a weird pick from a lot of people. But overall, I think Hunter J is going to be a very very strong player and a big asset for that team. He
Absolutely.
he dominates the street very well. He's very fast down the street, so he's not going to stand on the other end of the street like Airvan would and just drill down it and blow people up. But he's going to be running around and he's going to be doing a lot of sweeps, which is it interesting to say the least play style in a tournament setting. And I will definitely be interested to see how it ends up playing out.
I'm very excited to see that team in action. I'm excited to see the majority of teams in action. I'm very, very excited for this tournament period.
Moving on to the next player on this team is Dummy, who I think it's very funny how he is a Waukesha player, probably close to his 30s in rank, and I don't think a single regular knows who he is.
He comes in all the time with a Rogue Racer. I think they're friends, and if you see one, you always see the other. I have no idea what he looks like. I have an idea what he looks like if I were to pick him out of the two of them. No idea which one's which. I know nothing about him. Woodland picked him for a reason. I think he said something along the lines of he was bouncing off his energy a lot. And if you know Woodland, Woodland's loud. Woodland's a charismatic player. He takes control of the team. They'll bounce off each other, and sometimes teams will win based off of Woodland's motivation alone. So he wanted to pick that for that. I think could be
Yeah,
wrong.
definitely our most charismatic and, uh, for lack of better words, unique players we have.
Oh God, unique.
um, but I actually did a little bit of research about Dummy and kind of looking at his stats, and he is impressive. He has for a new player for sure. He's got around like a 1.4 KDR, I believe. He has been doing pretty strong in the sessions he's played. He's been beating out a lot of the regulars that don't know who he is. And and I think that's gonna be funny because even though he's been playing in all these sessions with all these regulars, I don't think anybody recognizes him. Nobody can put the name to the face, so his playstyle remains a bit of a mystery.
What's gonna happen is that people are gonna think on the other team like, okay, I'm playing against Woodland's team now. I know generally where. Actually, wait, this is actually a great opportunity. If it were me, I would know where 0 of the people on Woodland's team would go besides Woodland himself. Woodland generally is the player that plays the most out of all the Waukesha regulars, and you'll see him at the top of the leaderboards every single week and month for Waukesha alone. And I know where none of his players go. Generally, you're meant to think of like, okay, Hunter J is meant to go down the street. I should be ready for him to be there. I'm not going to see him in these places. With his team, you're having a very hard time doing that, which gives him a huge advantage.
That's certainly funny, especially with Woodland being the, I guess you could call him repetitive player that he is. Go staircase, look down alley.
Yep.
But I think he will his team will definitely shine in their coordination and in Woodland's leadership. But we have one more team member on this team left, and that's Birdie, who was their last pick. So one of the third pick of the fourth round was Birdie, where I think that is a very, very lucky place to get Birdie. Birdie is one of the Chicago regulars and has played a lot in Chicago. And when she's played in Waukesha has done very well. So I think with Birdie as your last pick, your team can't be bad.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I know her personality is really explosive as well, so she can really motivate a team as well. I think every team kind of needs like a team motivator. You'd be surprised how often a team kind of falls apart because of low morale. If you can get that one player that kind of hypes everyone up, in this case, 2, yeah, all power to you. Much more bonus points for it.
Yeah, so that's definitely gonna be a very at least fun team to be playing with.
Oh yeah.
All right, and moving on to our second last team here. So with the 10th pick was Sniper's team. So the captain being Sniper 17. Moving down the list, it's Strika, Ashaway, JBakes 48, and Floke Forster.
You pronounce it Floke.
I do.
Okay.
I'm gonna just ride it with that, ride and die it like that. That's fine.
Strika, I haven't seen this guy in a year. I live in fear for that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the last time he played was. I believe he's at college right now, so he's been away from the game for a little while. But when he was there, he was certainly a very strong player. Ashaway, super high accuracy, super high trigger discipline. Definitely help a team in a game like Sniper, and can definitely dominate very, very well up top.
JBakes 48 has an incredible amount of time on the field. I, I think he first started playing in like 2014 or 15, maybe even 13, one of the 3 years. He's been there forever. This guy, I don't think is capable of leaving on combat. I think he actually sleeps there. He doesn't play. He just sleeps there.
I think he might be either the second or third longest playing player out of the tournament. So I don't know. It's between probably him, Erevan, and Fern, or Live for the Moment.
I have to double check those stats. I remember the stat you gave me for Fern, which is 26 days
Yeah,
of
Fern.
play time.
Yeah, Fern has
Yikes.
played the most out of everybody in the tournament, but I don't know who has been playing the longest.
That's just, yeah, it could be him. It's cool to see. Floach, last pick, should not have been last pick.
No, he was definitely a player that I would have been very, very happy with last picking, and man, if he got to me, I would have been overjoyed to say the least. Uh,
Gosh.
but that's not to discount the big strong point of the team, and that's being their captain, Sniper
Right.
17.
Yeah, he right now he has a very good chance of being just de facto best Waukesha player.
Yeah,
Fundamentals, he's very quick. He's very super fast reaction time. Um, he's just unparalleled in most places. And most times you put him in a session, like 9 times out of 10, there's a delta swap for that game, unless you we really pay extra attention to building the teams beforehand. Most of the time, he just ends up, well, camo teams at a 3. What do we do? Oh boy, throw in Kyle. Okay.
yeah, but he's just a very, very dominant player. Has been playing incredibly well the last year, which is interesting to look back at because I was showing you a little piece of footage I found on my GoPro that was from just over a year ago, and he was so much shorter and sounded like a little girl.
For Zach.
So he was just a little. I had I guess gameplay footage of little baby Zach on my GoPro,
Yeah,
but
tiny Zach.
since that time he has definitely kind of grown up a lot and become a very, very strong player.
And he's taller than me now, and I think I've been at iCombat for a long time, and I remember when he wasn't even up to. He was, I don't know how tall he was. He was very short, and he obviously got his growth spurt around recently, and he's just wild right now. It's very hard to go against this guy. It's like, oh great, I'm on black team. What do I do? That's what I do when I play against him.
Yeah.
It's like, break him on black team.
Well, we could definitely dedicate a whole podcast to talking about Zach, but moving on to the last but certainly not least team, we have the Milkman.
The milkman.
Um,
Um, the joke was he got last pick, and he made it very clear that he got last pick in the video. His team ends up being himself, Commander Irwin, the third scout, or I guess the fourth scout, I guess, since Flock was right before him. First pick for his team, followed by Feldonk, Camden, and Nate.
I think getting Commander Irwin as the 11th pick of the draft is incredible.
That is just wild. This dude, he's incredible player. I think out of the scouts, you know what? They're all incredible. I've said this before. He is just wild. He has a lot of energy, big team motivator. So you get like the 2 points there. You get a high motivator and a great player on your team as well. Unfortunately, I just don't play well against him a whole lot. Maybe you could talk more about that one.
So going into the draft, I mentioned I had a list of 1 through 44 of the available players. Commander Irwin went in as the 11th pick of the draft. I had him ranked as my number 5 most wanted player.
Cool. And generally, first round of the draft, obviously all the best players are going to get knocked out of the way. The fact that you had him so high on the list and he goes in 11th, that's super high valuable for Milkman.
I I had just like this tiny little glimmer of hope when it was coming around to the roundabout that everybody else just didn't realize he was on the list and that he might get all the way to me, but it was not the case.
It's a snake, and they have to go all the way down and all the way back up.
Well, I got all the way down. He got all the way down to 11, so I was like, man, do people just not know he's there, or? But man, he just
He's
went
not
all the
playing
way
on
down
terms.
there.
It's
But
like specs. Sorry, go ahead.
it, like you said, it is definitely very hard to, I guess, judge the order of those of the skill level of the scouts. So I'm not I don't necessarily think that the order they were picked in is wrong. I just think, wow, 11th pick is very strong.
I'd love to have him on the show some week.
Yeah, we
And
just gotta make sure he's staying on topic, I suppose.
he can go wherever he wants. But yeah, I totally see what you mean by that. Next up is Feldonk.
Yes, Feldonk is kind of made his return to playing starting last week. I think he's been out of the game since then.
He's been playing a lot of video games with me.
He has. Um, but he's been making a little return to the scene, getting ready for the tournament and getting ready to work together with his team. And I think that's one of his big strong suits is his ability to work as a team and his ability to play objective. I think out of the vast majority of players that are in the tournament, even he is one of the most dedicated objective players.
Oh, I want to know what you mean by objective player. Well, I guess I know what you mean by objective player, but what makes a good objective player if you want to put it in short words?
I suppose just putting it first, putting the objective first. Your objective is win the game, kills second.
Okay, so not throw yourself at the tube, but get to it and have effect on it as well. I don't know how Feldark plays. I wish I did. I have only started playing again very recently, and I don't get to play very often with them, and I don't ever see him when I'm team leading him. I'll only see him for a moment, generally, right when the game starts. He'll shoot down the middle for a little bit, and then he goes, and he's gone. I don't know where Feldark went. He is gone from my vision. I don't have to worry about him. He's off on his own land doing just crazy work for the team, and I don't know where from. Funny to see.
I would definitely say that he is a pretty dedicated market player, but he, like I said, puts objective first. So his team in domination will lose the tower tube. You'll definitely see him trying to get it back. He'll be over there in the tower, prioritizing that, or mansion tube, or wherever else. But the marketplace is generally where you'll see him the most.
Lower market, you're saying?
He kind of flips between up and down, so I guess I don't know which would be his more dominant area.
As a team leader, it's pretty dangerous to go into lower market. Slightly different topic, but I'm never going to see him a whole lot because if I'm walking in, there's a high chance I just get run into. I just get absolutely decked, and I don't want to get decked while I'm working.
Yeah, that's a different topic altogether. But moving on to Cam DVN. I know absolutely nothing about this player except for he's from North Carolina.
Yep, I know nothing as well. I think him and IG-11 are related.
I am pretty
That's
sure
all I
you're
got.
correct. Besides that, though, I don't know much
Unfortunately.
about him. So sorry, Cam DVN, but we're moving on to Nate.
Yeah, Nate. Woo! Wasn't the last pick of the draft because it was snake format, but he was the last pick for his team. Shouldn't have been. This dude explodes the street, explodes the alleyway. Thing is though that generally he's a predictable player. He's going to be in one of those two spots. You can lean around a corner and be like, okay, looking for Nate, and there he is. Nate, explode Nate, and you can move on. But people that don't know that are going to have a hard time getting past the death machine sentry gun that he is when crossing alleyway or street.
Absolutely. And he he's just so dominant in the areas he plays, has just phenomenal reaction time on putting down whoever's stepping into his street or into his ghetto alley. Uh, he's he is a very, very interesting player and will definitely be a very fun member of that team.
He might. I think last year there was like the People's Team. And the People's Team last year had Nate on it as well. I would not be surprised if Milkman's team got that title as well. It's like everyone wants this team to win because Nate's on it. I would love to see that.
They've got a very interesting dynamic. A lot of these players are players that I have a very good time playing with, and Milkman Donnie's always very fun to play with. Commander Irwin is a very funny guy. He's fun to play with. Feldark is just a great guy. I like having him around. He's fun to talk to. I don't know who the hell Cam DVN is. And then Nate is certainly a personality to have around.
All right. I think that's everyone on that one. Moving on to our next topic is going to be the last 7 days at iCombat Waukesha. Let's go ahead and blast us through this one quick.
Yeah, let me pull that up for us real quick. But the leaderboard we have for The last 7 days in Waukesha is right here. So, oh boy, I've got it a little bit bigger than we normally do. But the top 15 players we have for this week, uh, starting with the top is Sniper 17, Woodland, Arthas Menethil, The Milkman, Mac 20, Commander Irwin, Chief, Aravan, Skulltaker, The Owl, Live for the Moment, Ben Big Mac, Shea Money, Jay Vito, and at 15th we have No Nut, No Nutrition.
No nut, no nutrition for. I think he was only playing on Saturday, and he was only playing the purge sessions, and he managed to squeak into the 15th. Did he play any more sessions than that one? I think that's really
I
cool.
think I played with him a little bit. No, I played on the Purge session, so yeah, it was the Purge sessions.
He only plays the purge, and he gets onto the leaderboard for that as well. That's something. That's good for him. Let's go ahead and start down with him. Well, actually, let's start with the players that we didn't talk about in the tournament. So Shea Money, Ben Big Mac,
And
and I
that's
think that
it.
might be it.
Yeah,
Yeah, everyone else is
13 out
playing
of the
that
top
him.
15 are tournament players.
Cool. Benjamin Big Macus. This guy's always got a joke. I'll tease him that I don't want him to say his jokes when I secretly want him to say his jokes. Now that I've said that online, he's going to harass me with a million little jokes over and over again. He's got these puns he slings out. What do you think about Ben?
I think he is. He plays with the scouts, so he's kind of an honorary scout himself. But he always comes in with that group, and I think just that whole group of people is just awesome to see walk through the door. They're very fun people to have around, uh, and they always do very well when they come to our field. From Chicago to Waukesha, there's not a huge difference in their skill level, and they were certainly one of the some of the better players on their field.
It is really interesting to see. I'm not saying that because I don't want to harm anyone's feelings. I think that they're all around the same high skill level. They all play extraordinarily well, but they're all just around that same group. It's really cool to see. I imagine they have like they talk about laser tag all the time, and they'll share their secrets and stuff like that, and they're always kind of like working the exact same way, stuff like that. Now I'm starting to look at the stats up here. Oh, I guess we should talk about Shea Money first. Shea Money came out of the woodwork. It says right here she's level 36. So that's around that time when people start to recognize her as like, oh, okay, I know who Shea Money is. Oh, Shea Money is just absolutely killing me over and over again. She's doing real surprisingly really well.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. She, as I'm seeing here, is up to her 36th rank, so just on the cusp of getting her eagle pretty soon, probably a couple more weeks before that. And she's just been playing a lot. Oh, something just updated there, but she has just been playing quite a lot, and it's been super fun to see. She's been bringing uh, definitely a new look on the game, and she kind of plays an interesting style. So she works mostly around the street mansion area, but kind of in a different way than you'll see a lot of people doing it. So most people will either be sprinting down the street or laying all the way back, but she tends to kind of slowly move forward. So it's kind of a slowly push her advantage. She'll shoot someone down and then she'll move a little bit forward. Stop, shoot someone down, move a little bit forward.
and she's always changing her position like that. And that's one of the first things you got to learn in order to get better at it. Is that always move your position around. And if she's already doing that naturally at level 36, I foresee she's going to be very, very incredible as she continues to play. I don't want her to like sometimes players will get around this level and they'll start to like not play as often and maybe realize not the sport's not for them. I hope that she continues to play so badly because she's very interesting to watch.
Absolutely. It's always great to see these new players, and we've got a couple of them that have just shown up in the last month or two, 4 or 5 of them. But we'll talk about that a little bit later.
I think we can now, unless there's anything else about this list you want to talk about. I saw that the highest kill streak on this list was Woodland in second place at 33 kills. I don't know what game mode that happened in. I imagine it was a purge session.
I imagined it was Borg, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Oh well. Upcoming players we have Shea Money and Stribling.
Yeah,
Those two always come in at the same time. Um, I anything else you want to say about them? I'm drawing a blank on these.
They're always coming in on the same time. Stribling for sure as brings a very very interesting personality to the field. Uh,
I started to call her the team mom.
yeah.
She's she does this thing where she'll like, "How you doing? Are you okay? You tired? Let's." Like, thanks. Yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, she's been a very very fun personality to have around, and the both of them have just kind of gone out of their way to say that they're coming down to play. They just love the game, which is awesome to see.
Oh my god, it's incredible. Sometimes this sport can will shy people away because they'll get in and this is like a deer in headlights moment. It's like this is what tactical laser tag is. What is going on around me? And they're getting they could have gotten to a bad session where like the regulars are just kind of like showing them around, or maybe they have a really good impression. I think it's what happened here. But sometimes they get into the sport and they just like, I don't think this is for me. I'm never going to show up again. It's great to see new regulars show up. It's incredible. We have so many of these weirdos. I can't talk. I can't preach more about it.
Absolutely, and I definitely agree with the first session you play just makes or break it so much. You either get the bug and you keep playing, or you play your first session and you're like, I'm walking out of here with 5 kills. I just got absolutely nuked. What even was happening out there? But some people, even after that first session, they just get nuked, and they're like, that was really cool. It was really impressive to see what was going on out there. I want to do that, and they just keep coming back.
Yeah, it might turn into like a weekly thing. It's thing it normally starts out with. They'll come in like every 2 weeks or something. It's like, oh, you want to go again, play some more laser tag? Yeah, let's go. Sometimes they'll come in with groups, right? So generally, it's not one person that plays over and over again. They'll bring in a couple. They'll bring in a group of three, and that group of three will play a lot. And then sometimes that group falls apart, and it's just like the one remaining person left, and that person tends to last a really long time.
Yeah, and
Excellent.
those are the players we like to see the most.
That's yeah, absolutely. I think we've covered everything we've got here. Anything else you want to add out?
No, I believe that's everything that we had written up for this week.
All right. Um, I imagine we're going to do this again on the same time next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. This is the first episode of the Point Gremlins podcast. My name is Jonas Thread, or James, and here we have Alex, or Delirium. Thank you very much for listening, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you all next week.
Excellent.
And the stream has